like to call to order the Town Council meeting for September 20th, 2016. Please join me in the pledge. Roll call, Twyla.
Counselor Albert,
Here.
Counselor Kobe,
Here.
Counselor Ward,
Here.
Counselor Mativier,
Here.
Counselor Bickford,
Here.
Counselor Crafts,
Here.
Counselor Brunel.
Here.
Next item,
Mm-hmm.
good news and recognition.
Anybody have anything?
I got something. Had a meeting Tuesday, Monday, with a committee that we established quite a while ago, and I just want to let the rails to trails is still moving forward, and it's probably now, with new people on board, it's gonna speed up a little faster. So, a lot of kicking, I've kept it moving ahead, and I think it's gonna move a lot faster. So stay tuned for further information. Okay.
People out here that don't know what that is.
Huh?
Yeah.
There's probably some people that don't know
Oh,
what rails. to
okay, I'll
trails
tell you, if you want to be, the Trails to Rails is, it's most likely that the railroad bed between the Night Saltex, the old gypsum mill, and up by it goes all the way past the gridiron. That will be made into a all-purpose, multi-purpose trail. Not hot-topped, but for all equestrian, walkers, bikers, snowmobilers, ATVers, everything. It's going to model the Sunrise Trail up in Ellsworth that goes all the way up through. So it's been 5 years in working, and we finally got Pan Am to agree to come aboard and do something with us.
That's awesome.
Like I said, it's been a very slow process.
Anybody else? You don't have anything?
Not on that one. The other's council.
Okay, next item.
The public hearing for the special entertainment permit for the Left Hand Club. Would you like to open the public hearing?
Yep, I'll open the public hearing. Okay, closing the public hearing.
Next item is audience participation and response for agenda items.
Is there anybody that would like to participate in audience participation? Okay, next item.
Next item is the consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have any item removed may do so now. Items removed from the consent agenda may be considered next. Seeing none, order 2016-214 to approve the minutes of September 6, 2016, the liquor license and special entertainment permit for the Left Hand Club, and proclamations for the Dairy Maid and Kennebec Fruit Company.
I'd like to make a motion to accept.
Second?
Okay,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Thanks, Eric.
Next item is council orders, resolutions, and ordinances. Order 2016-215, an ordinance entitled Chapter 70 Definitions, Medical Marijuana Definitions. This is a first reading. It would require a roll call vote.
I would like to table this till after the elections.
So, since there's no motion on the floor, probably be appropriate to move it to a future agenda item?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think that's the consensus.
Yeah, it's a consensus of the council.
Yes,
I think we want to, wait till after the,
actually, probably, depending what happens November, things could change.
You might want to have that be the first of the year to
Yep.
allow the new council coming in to be able to time to get up to speed, so.
What do you
I-
want to do, Cassie?
I say we table it until we find out what the initiative is going to spell out for us.
You're interested in hearing from the planning board?
Hey, we'd love that, Don.
Sure.
Because you asked me to present tonight, I'd like it locked out.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yes.
One of the things that has been a problem for codes enforcement in the town is what to do with commercial use of medical marijuana. The commercial use of medical marijuana, which this proposed ordinance addresses, has absolutely nothing to do with personal use of marijuana. So if there is any, I heard comments earlier that if there is any concern about personal use of marijuana, or that the fact that the ordinance will change or need to change after it is passed or if it passes, that is not effective. It would not make any difference. Medical marijuana will exist in this state after, with or without personal use. So that item will not affect it. What does affect is that our codes enforcement officer has to make decisions every day about where medical marijuana for commercial uses should be within the town. Currently, there is no pending cases in the court that have been decided. I have heard comments earlier that there's questions about this and whether it should pass or whether it shouldn't. And I've also consulted, as you all know, with the attorney and with our planner, and she has taken us to hearings, and she's taken us lots of places to hear things about medical marijuana. I asked her what her latest opinion was, and she said, "I've heard little more over the summer, and perhaps Maine's legal community is rethinking or being more open to the different interpretations of the land use issues surrounding medical marijuana. This could mean that despite there's not being any changes in the state statute or case law, the fact that so many communities have been enacting land use regulations for medical marijuana, despite legal questions, that reasonable regulation is becoming more acceptable, and some lawyers are finding new ways to interpret the law." In my opinion and her opinion, you should act. And whether you wait till after the election or whether you do it now means that much longer that your codes enforcement officer is hanging out there without any backup. The attorney knows this. The attorney has once said that we should back up what we enforce out there. So that's my reasoning for one. I've heard you want to table it. And if you feel still that the need to table it, I think you should think twice, that you need to back up the planning board, you need to back up your codes enforcement officer, and if you do postpone it, you should postpone it with a definite date, not indefinite, otherwise you kill it. Thank you.
Can I have some discussion?
Yeah.
Don, I've been through most of your meetings on the marijuana, and we've talked, and I don't want to kill it, but I don't care what any attorney says. If it does go, the state is going to have to rewrite some rules, and they might sit right down and rewrite the whole thing. So I want it tabled. It's not being that much of a, it's not that much, if we table it till the end of the year, first of the year, it's not that far away. If it doesn't go through, if it's voted down, then you've got a perfect ordinance that's ready to go. And that's my opinion. But,
You're not asking for debate, so I'm not giving you any.
no, I'm not asking you for the debate. We've debated this before, and I've seen both sides. And I do.
And
Timeline-wise, yeah, timeline-wise, first reading, and maybe I might need Twyla for this, because I'm not super familiar with timeline, but if she's busy, hang on. Hey, Twyla? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, forgive me. So, from a first reading perspective, how quickly would we be able to enact? So if we do first reading tonight, how quickly, if we were to go ahead and move on this commercial medical marijuana ordinance, how quickly would we talk about this being enacted, just realistically?
from the first reading to the second reading is,
So the second reading would be the first meeting in October.
Mhm.
And then if it passed, then it would be enacted 21 days after that date.
After that date? Okay, so realistically sometime by the end of November or somewhere in that
Be
time frame.
close to, it would be.
In October, early.
1st of
Okay.
November. Yeah.
First, okay.
It'd be before the referendum, I think.
Yeah.
the
Okay.
town meeting.
It's October, November 8th.
So realistically, it's not that long of a timeline that if we did push it out till after the vote, then we could still get it enacted pretty close to the, by the end of this year, if not this first of next.
you're saying you'd like to move it to an agenda after,
I'm just spitballing right now. I don't think I'm trying to drive it anywhere yet. I'm just trying to talk it out loud to see what it sounds like if we were to go that route.
meet on the 1st and the 15th, and the election is on the 8th, so you'd meet the week after the election.
But it's
typically.
also going to take some
Yeah.
time to iron out the details once it passes. And having some further discussions with other municipalities when I went up to Augusta, the conversation we were all having was that some of these issues that communities are having will be ironed out if the initiative passes. If not, then, like Roger said, we'll have an ordinance that we can look at and go from there. But I think we should wait and just see where the initiative leads us.
I appreciate,
Census,
Well-
census.
I can appreciate that it puts the planning board and it puts the code enforcement officer at a continued disadvantage to be swinging out in the breeze, having to make these decisions. So I want to be clear that I don't think any one of us doesn't appreciate what you guys have stressed here. I really do understand that Dennis is under a lot of pressure to make these decisions daily. And to be able to have something to fall back on would be a lot easier for him to be able than having to try to each day make a decision about this. So, and I don't want you to think that we're not supporting the planning board's effort, because I realize you guys have gone to a lot of meetings, sat in on a lot of things. And so, thank you very much, and I don't want you to think that we don't appreciate all your hard work. We certainly do. I think for us, it's just a matter of, we hear everything you're saying, and if there was some hard and fast, we're not gonna leave it indefinite, Dawn, just to kind of answer your question. I think we want to make sure that we'll put a hard and fast, and I'm a big proponent of, let's use the December 1st guideline. Let's have something, we're moving on this by December 1st at the very latest. And we could even use a different date in November, or since the election is right there. If we want to use mid-November, I don't care. We can put it on the meeting that we have the week after the election and make sure that it's on that agenda so that we talk about it.
The new seated council would come in December 5th,
December 6th.
6th.
6th, I'm sorry, yes, thank you.
the
So we
Tuesday
could
after
use,
the first.
we could use that as the hard and fast date.
Use the date, December 6th. I would table it till then,
December
would be
6th.
my thought process.
Do you want to move it to the December 6th agenda?
Yes.
And is there a motion to second that?
It was his motion, I was just giving a date to that.
That's your motion, Roger?
Yeah. My motion,
Okay.
I need a second.
Chris already seconded
Second.
it.
And Chris Brunel seconds
Yeah.
it? Okay, and so your motion is to move it to the December 6th agenda? All those in favor? Okay, opposed? Order passed, 7-0.
Next item.
Order 2016-216, an ordinance, outdoor shooting range, first reading, roll call vote required.
Any discussion?
Yep.
So you need a motion to approve, adopt would be.
Okay.
We want Dawn to explain the shooting
Yeah, I
range.
think
Yeah.
that would be.
Yes, Dawn.
That's,
So our listening audience will understand.
I think, I can't remember when the date was, but
Over a year ago.
early spring, or maybe it was earlier, over a year ago, there was controversy in another town in Scarborough, I believe, where, and there was potential problems with their shooting range ordinance. And so there were noise problems in the neighborhood and that sort of thing. So there was interest in our local community that we may have some potential problems. So there was a committee that the boards, that the town council wanted to put together to study the issue to see if anything needed to be done, if it should be done, and to what degree. And that firing range committee was people in town, included Barry Fuller, I believe, who was the concerned citizen, Dan Michelle, who was lieutenant on PD at the time, Dean Logan and Robert Sinclair, who were members of the Lisbon Outdoor Shooting Range. Also, myself, Scott Hall, and Dennis Douglas sat on the committee. So out of that committee, it was determined that, yes, everybody unanimously thought that there should be some regulation. And so this ordinance was developed. It was used, the model of Scarborough was used and modified significantly. It was surprising to us, quite frankly, that we thought it was kind of poorly written even after it was modified. So we worked on it, and then it went to legal, and so that's what you have in front of you. And it's really not anything that does anything but regulate the shooting range itself. So that's what the idea is, and it has unanimous approval of both sides of the process. It only went to planning board as a formality because it has to. It's part of Chapter 70, and we looked at it and sent it along to you. So that's how you got it. If I can give you details, you can read the details as well as I can, but they essentially address the place that's there now and state ordinances and address any future shooting range should there be one.
So just for clarity's sake, just because I know I talked to Roger about this before, but I want to put it out there so the public can understand too. If I own a piece of property, say a sand pit, and I've been going out in my sand pit and shooting all these years, this ordinance that we put in place only applies to ranges that would come online after this ordinance was to go into effect.
Official shooting ranges.
Exactly. All right, good. Just want to be clear that we're all on the same page and the community would understand that as well.
Right.
Perfect.
That it?
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Is this a roll
Ready
call
for a
vote?
roll call vote? Okay, Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor Bickford,
Yes.
Counselor Crafts,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor McTevier,
Yes.
Counselor Brunel,
Yes.
Counselor Colby.
Yes.
We have 7 yeas, 0 nays, order passed.
Can I have the floor for a minute? All the people that came here for the medicinal marijuana, if you want to talk, you see on the agenda farther down is audience participation about new items. So if you do have something to say, you want to say something to the crowd, by all means, you can get up. And if you don't want to be here anymore, you can leave. Just thought I'd bring that out there to you, so in case you didn't know how the procedures happen, that's all. Next.
Next item.
Order 2016-217, the annual approval of residential tax club policy.
Yes, we currently have a tax club policy on the books, and this has to be adopted or approved annually by the municipal officers. From this point forward, what I'll do is next year when we're doing our budget and you do the orders and approve the budget, I'll have that as part of the orders as well as the order of payment of taxes, because both of those have to be done annually.
How many people take advantage of that?
One, right now.
Is it lack of promotion or just, I see it was only in effect since 2014.
Yeah, it's fairly new.
I called about this earlier.
We've got it on our website now, but, you know, we do have a significant amount of taxpayers that have escrow accounts, so that, you know, they're paying through their escrow.
Right.
But we're gonna try to promote it more if we can and see if people take advantage of it.
Why don't you take 2 seconds, because we're live on camera, to do so right now?
So what happens with the tax club policy, you can, as long as everybody's taxes are current, you can start being a member of the tax club policy beginning in April of each year. And what we do at that time is we look at your previous tax bill and we divide that amount by 12, and you have to make 12 monthly payments. And you have to be current. You have to make the monthly payments. You can't miss a month. By doing that, you don't have, if you have not paid that tax bill after September 15th when the taxes are due, because you're paying forward, you're not going to be subject to interest penalties, but only if you make your 12 annual payments. When we do the commitment, we'll recalculate what that monthly payment is. So it's like, it's doing a budget plan for your taxes. And, you know, for a lot of people that works, for some it doesn't. But you, in order to start it, you need to be current on your taxes. So you could start tomorrow as long as you've paid your first installment of the 2017 taxes. We would take that last installment and divide that into 6 months, or until March 31st, and you make all your payments up until that date with interest-free.
It's a fantastic opportunity for those who say own
It's a
their home.
budget plan is what
Yeah,
it is.
they own their home and they're living on a fixed income, rather than have to come up with the two big hits every year. They can, but it's a lot easier to take that on a little bit at a time, especially over a monthly amount.
Right,
But,
and the
yeah.
reason we wouldn't charge interest on anything that's unpaid in that current year is because we're collecting money in advance. So we're having your money before the taxes are committed, but you continually make that payment monthly. But
Anyone's interested could go to the website and
They
see,
can.
get information from it there,
You
or
have to sign
call
an
in.
agreement with us, and we also, the Trio system has a payment book, which we give you a payment book as well.
If they wanted to come into the town offices here, they could talk to Megan about it
Yeah.
as well, right?
Exactly, yes.
Excellent. That's great. Thank you, Diane.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make-
Motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item.
Order 2016-218, order of payment of taxes.
And this is an order to allow us to apply any payment to the oldest tax that's due on the account. And in order to do that, we have to have the order from the municipal officers in place. And that's merely what this is doing tonight, is to adopt the order of payment of taxes as presented.
Is that another one that could actually be part of the budget?
Yes, I've already added it to my list, yep.
Great.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item.
Order 2016-219, voting credentials for MMA annual business meeting.
Yes, she's on board.
On board for what?
Oh, you're it. You got voting rights all over it.
Nominate Cassie.
Absolutely,
Are there
yes.
other nominations? Seeing none? All those in favor? Order passed, 7-0. And then you'll have to
Welcome.
sign the actual form. Okay.
You wait.
Yeah.
Circulate.
Good thing neither one of us keeps score, because I don't know who's behind at this point.
Next item.
Order 2016-220, school capital reserve request.
You got in your packets, I hope, the request for the use of the capital reserve. The school committee on Monday, September 12th, voted 5-0 to request that the superintendent ask for the authorization from the town council for the invoices that you had been given. That is for when we were talking about redoing the day treatment program down at Gartley Street. With construction going into the summer, the school committee at the end, or near the end of June, had money put into the capital reserve for the intent that that would pay those bills for some of the improvements that were done there. We are requesting the vote was not to exceed $30,000 with all of the invoices. Currently, it was $29,958.20.
Is all work complete there?
Not yet. As the letter had stated, there is a possibility that we will be coming in October, November. There's some more outstanding invoices that we have not received yet. This was a big bulk of what we have received.
Do you,
It's very minor stuff that
Okay.
would be left.
the
Then I-
additional stuff in the October, November is minor stuff?
I believe so, yes. Yeah.
Do you have an idea what it'll be?
Alan, do you know what is left to finish? What little details you can come on up?
What we have left is a little bit of the trim on the outside of the metalwork on the outside of the building. The kitchen is done right now for what we're serving, because we're satelliting our lunches right now. So there's a little more upgrading that needs to be done. We're rebuilding the stove in there that we've had. They're new, about $6,000 to $7,000, and we got an estimate on it was $1,000 to rebuild it. So we're in the process of doing that right now. We actually have the parts. They just have to come back and finish the
Yeah.
project there. Minor things, minor trims. I was talking to the director today. There's a couple things that is kindergarten room that we want to pad some of the walls. I actually have the product now. I just got the product in. It's about doing. But really, relatively minor stuff. All the major stuff has been done. Electrical's been done. All the plumbing we've done. We've painted throughout, ceilings, I mean, I don't know who.
Is
if
that
you've all
outside
been-
work part of this also, that was being done outside?
Minor pieces that were needed to be
Yeah.
replaced to make sure that water is.
Well, there's new siding and stuff going on the back.
Right, and then we had some windows that were leaking, so that was all stuff that it had to be done.
Yeah, it looks nice. I mean,
Thank
it's
you.
coming out real nice.
Thank you.
Any other logistics? Give a brief update on how things are going there.
We have 15 day treatment students. We still have
Thank
one
you.
out of district, so we have a total of 16 of our, that are involved in a program. 15 of them are now back in-house. We have 23 students in the alternative education program, seniors and juniors, that do, some of them are strictly there doing work, some of them do a hybrid between LRTC and there, and some also do a little bit with LRTC there for work and some at the high school. So it's a hybrid to make sure that the students are, still be staying in school and being educated and going to receive their diploma, so.
Any changes from the original plan that come up
Um,
since?
Changes in the original plan, I know I spoke with the director. We are being asked from a lot of area districts if there's room. So that is something that he will be evaluating, but nobody wants to, run with that baton yet until we have everything that we need for our own students, the program, working well, iron out anything that may occur that we might not have foreseen. But most of the people that we've hired were experts in their fields for the day treatment program, so it's been great. We do have a facilities committee coming up. We are meeting at the central office, and part of that will be going down to the other end of the building for a tour. All of you are welcome to attend if you want to come and see that. I know we do have designated members on that committee, but if you are interested, that is next Monday at 5:30. I don't know where I am this week.
So it sounds like there's already interest there, but I like the fact that we're holding fast to the idea. I know Mr. Green had talked about that when this was initially proposed. Let's make sure that we have this thing running smoothly
Yep.
before we talk about bringing other folks in. 'Cause I think we all realize there's potential there.
Yep.
You said 15 of the 16 that last year were going elsewhere are back in-house.
Yep.
That translates to, I can't remember the dollar amount per student.
It's a lot.
Yeah, so just the thought of that is back in the Lisbon budget, not to mention the fact that we may look at somewhere down the line, if we can get this thing running smoothly, getting other folks from other districts.
From what I understand, a lot of the other day treatments are full.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the panic is being set in with other districts.
Do we have, I'm not sure, how much room would we have?
That would be something that
As
we
more
would
director.
have to ask for the director.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I wouldn't say, there's still a few rooms that are being utilized, our records room, things like that could be converted down the road, but currently they're not in use.
When he went to the budget presentations, he had a number in mind. I wouldn't dare put him out there on the record
Right.
publicly, but
Right.
there were a certain number of students, if everything went according to his plan, that he'd be looking at
That
next
you'd
year.
be able to service.
Right.
We'll just wait and see then.
Anything else?
Any other questions?
It's pretty straightforward.
All right, thank you.
We need to have this succeed, so I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Who seconded?
Roger?
Roger did. All those in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item.
Under other business, town manager's report.
I just have 3 things tonight. All our paperwork has been submitted for the CDBG grant. Everything looks okay for now. We'll hear probably the middle of October whether we get the grant or not. But since all the paperwork has been sent in, any work that is done on the Davis Street sidewalk after October 6th will go towards our match. So if we can hold off a little bit longer before paving that sidewalk, all that money going into that project will go towards our match.
That's awesome.
Because that's only, 2-3 weeks away. Tomorrow night, the county will be recognizing the individuals in this county that have been nominated for the Spirit of America Award. So that's going to happen at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow night. And Lisbon had nominated Natalie Thompson, so I Tracy and I will be going to, on behalf of her, hopefully she got an invitation to go, but we'll be going on behalf of Lisbon to support Natalie. And the only other item I have to discuss is I had a request from a resident here in Lisbon who is renting from, who is a tenant, and he's renting from a landlord. And what he wants Lisbon to do is to enact an ordinance that will regulate heat in the apartment buildings. Currently, there is a state statute that regulates that. And what the state statute pretty much says is that when it's -20 below, you have to have a heating furnace or heating capabilities to heat the dwelling at least 68 degrees. It doesn't mean you keep it at 68 degrees, you just gotta have the capability of heating it at 68 degrees. He's done some research on it, and he wants us to follow what Lewiston has done. And Lewiston has enacted the International Property Maintenance Code, but they've further amended that says that the dwelling has to maintain a temperature of no less than 68 degrees Fahrenheit in all rooms, and that's what he would like Lisbon to do. So I just want to get your thoughts on that, if you want us to move forward, or if you want, whatever you want to do, but.
Have we fielded any complaints from any other tenants from this
particular?
particular?
And
Okay,
this person is new to the area, he's always owned a home.
Okay.
His issue is the landlord shuts the heat off in April to the building.
okay.
I don't know when the landlord turns it back on, but
From a code enforcement standpoint, though, Dennis falls back on the state statute, so that,
right. We can, if we can enact something that's more stringent than state statute, and that's what he
agreed,
wants
and that's
us
what
to
he's
do.
asking for,
That's
is
what
he's
he's
asking
asking
for
for.
better than the state statute.
Better than the state statute, yeah.
I don't agree with it.
No, I
It's,
don't either.
I think it's harder for Dennis in the code enforcement environment to actually maintain something of that nature, in my opinion.
Might be easier for us to, and I don't know if this has already been a discussion that's been had with the tenant. Has he reached out and had a discussion with the landlord? Or has there been, was there a disconnect there? Do we know
Yeah,
that?
I think there might be a little disconnect there.
Maybe that's probably a good first step, is to see if maybe those two can get together, either a telephone call or in a room, and talk about it and figure out what, come up with an agreement that works for both of them.
Don't quote me, but I think requirement is heat has to be turned on in the middle of November and can be shut off by April 1st. I think that's what the state statute is.
But regardless, Dennis knows the rules of
Right.
engagement associated with that. In
But what-
enacting something more stringent,
But what I'm trying to say is if he's saying that he shuts it off come April, well, he's in compliance with state statute.
Correct.
So,
I don't think that,
I mean,
the
there's
request that
landlord.
I'm hearing, that Diane's fielding from him, is that he wants us to go ahead and do something above
Right.
and beyond that, and,
Right.
and mirror what's being done in Lewiston. I'm not gonna speak for you folks, but I know for me personally, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't think we need to go that
And it would
route.
affect what Cassie just said, because
Yeah.
if he has to maintain 68 degrees, then he
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to shut it off in April,
Right.
unless, the weather
Right.
was warm enough so it was 68 degrees, so.
And the tenant can find another place to go.
right.
Eric, you hit the nail on the head there.
Don't have to stay
Free
there.
choice is a beautiful thing. If you get to a point where you're unhappy with your current surroundings and you can't come to a reasonable arrangement, then maybe it's time. But again, we want to work with anybody.
He's
so.
been in to see Dennis, and he's been in to talk with me several times, so I just needed to bring it in front of you to see if you wanted me to do anything with it, or if we will just advise him differently, maybe to talk to his landlord and see if he can work
That'd be
it
a
out with
good
the
start
landlord.
there.
Right.
I'm not inclined to move forward with this in that regard. We have a code enforcement officer one day out of the week that's dedicated to another community. We don't have the resources available that Lewiston has. Lewiston has 3 dedicated code enforcement officers associated with that. State statute is what he would enforce.
If he's violating the law, I understand us getting involved. But other than that, I kind of feel like it's personal property, and unless we're going to change it so that way we can tell my husband we have to turn it on in October.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Next item.
Department head written reports.
I saw Mr. Hagan actually reference that he got a hat at the meet and greet, so.
I saw that.
He did.
And you wore it.
And he wore it for the pictures, absolutely. That's all that matters. He's a Greyhound now.
There it is.
All set. Next item.
Department head oral reports. Kathy, Diane Netto, librarian.
Good evening, members of the Town Council, Town Manager, and Lisbon citizens. I'm Diane Natter from the Library Department, and I thank you for this opportunity to give you an update on the Library Department. As you can see, I was here earlier today and decorated the room a little bit with some of the artwork and the reading logs that the children did this summer. They're very excited that we're doing this. Some of them have come back, and I said I would present some of their treasures, and they're very proud of this, and we are proud of them. What you see in front of you and here are actually represent, each one of these represents a book that a reader reported on, and there are 1,502 of these at the library that we just took down.
Awesome.
They started in the children's room, across the ceiling, zigzagged, up the stairs, into the adult room, and that is great because people who don't usually go downstairs would look up and say, "What is this?" We explained they represent a book, and they said, "Hooray for the kids," and we can't wait to see if they reach their goal, and they did.
Did you say
They-
1,500?
1,502.
Wow.
And they were hung throughout the library. It's pretty cool. And they did make it to my office. They met the challenge. The children's librarian challenged the children to try to get to 1,500. Well, they did. I said, "Bill, be careful what you wish for," because that's how Georgine and I spent the day on the fire roof, if some of you remember that. We challenged the kids, and we kept our promise. And Bill challenged them that he would dye his hair purple. Well, he did. He went off to Portland to get some purple dye and came to work and had purple hair. I didn't do that, but I bought a big purple straw hat and big fancy gloves. And I met the children at the doorway of my office and congratulated them, shook their hands with these big, beautiful purple gloves that had bedazzles, and I gave them each an ice cream certificate. So we acknowledge them, we appreciate them, and we're proud of them. We wanted to keep up the theme of running and health with the children, so we incorporated some of the crafts, and I brought a few tonight, so I'd like to share with the community. One week we did kites, and each took a kite home, and we encouraged them to go on an outing with their families. We actually had kites for their younger brothers, or one for mom, so we always buy enough to make sure that everybody who's interested can partake. So hopefully a lot of them went out to Beaver Park and did some of these. One week, I don't know if some of you drove by the children's garden, there was these 2x4 things, and Bill built some kind of a structure, and it was a giant pendulum. And from that, they hung these tubes of paint and an old tarp, and the children swung these tubes of paint on these big sheets of paper in colors that they liked. This little girl liked purple, as you can see. And they decorated the library and their homes, and I'm sure Grammy's home and anybody else who thought that this would help improve their home. So they had fun with that. It was a huge thing, and it swung back and forth, and it was paint all over, and they had a great time. The next week, because they liked to paint so much, but on a much smaller scale, they did these, and sheets of paper in a cardboard box with marbles from our childhood. We dug some up, different sizes, and they dipped them in paint, and you actually, the marbles just went back and forth over the paper. And again, they had nice artwork that I'm sure some of them still have up on their walls. So you can see that we did things that didn't cost a lot of money, but it's things that were unusual for them, and they had a good time. One week we did little frisbees, just little mini frisbees. Again, it was items that we had at the library. We have lots of glitter at the library, feathers, beads, and so, again, they had a good time with that. One of the things that they talked me into buying, they're called geodes, and I thought, well, I don't know what you're talking about, but they look like rocks to me, and I said, we have a garden full. They explained that they do look like rocks, and they look like just something that they pick up on the side of the road that Ryan's people would want to clean up, and they're called geodes. And we lined them up on in the garden, and we had hammers. And the kids knew exactly what they were, geodes, yay. And they each got a turn at whacking their geode. It breaks open, and they're crystals, different colored crystals, and they love them. All excited, and of course we have that new equipment at the library. We have the microscope. We encourage them to come back into the library and check their stash, their crystals, and they're beautiful under the microscope. So we incorporated a science project, but they had fun. So we did geodes. And then we actually
It looks like Norman all day, every day.
Yeah, right? Well, that's a work.
They each got a group of these rods and decorated them. And the following week, they assembled them, and they chimed beautifully. The birds liked them in our garden. Inexpensive. Went to the dollar store, picked up these, as many as we could find, and someone looked at, oh boy, she's making a lot of spaghetti or something. Little did they know. And so kids were very enthusiastic and thought they could go home and make some. So if you're out and about in the community and you see some of these, the idea came from the library. So they had a real good time with that. And these are reading logs that they took home. These are still here because they've either not come back or they're blank. They each got some of these and they record what they read. And they take that to school with them in the fall. And they share that with their teachers. They show that they've read, what they've read, nonfiction, fiction, mysteries, and so they can show that they're well prepared for the next school year. So we're very proud of our students in Lisbon, the staff and I. So we had a real good summer. They read 1,502 books, 123 children. And the staff and I are very honored to be part of their education and their memories of growing up in Lisbon. We have a lady who came back and said, I don't want you to feel old, but she said, she's with her children, and she says, I still have stuff from summer reading program back 20 years ago in her treasure box, so that made us feel good, kind of. Kind of. But we incorporate the reading, the crafts, the activities to make them feel comfortable, to make them want to come back, and they did. They came back throughout the summer till Labor Day, so we were happy to have them. We also did other activities like the large parachute, we had frisbee tosses, and we had big stencils that we cut out. Actually, the baking flour that you would bake cakes and stuff, and they sifted this in shapes of stars and birds and things, and that decorated the lawn area of the garden. So all these kind of inexpensive but fun things that they enjoyed. So the decision to offer the Thursday program was the right decision, very successful. We averaged 17 readers plus their families every week for 6 weeks. And those are children that in the past couldn't get to us, and so we were pleased that we were able to do this year. The cricket camp outreach program that we brought to the school this summer through the Dollar General grant was also a success. We averaged 25 readers a week Bill met with them for 8 weeks. They checked out and read 187 books, and each reader received 2 gift books to start the school year with the funds from the Dollar General grant. As I said, we're very proud, and we will continue our efforts. We have switched gears. We're now busy with fall programs. Our preschool story time is back. We had 8 2-year-olds last Thursday, and they had a good time. They're young, so mom and dad still meet with them, but pretty soon they'll be big boys and big girls, and they'll say, "Bye, Mommy. You can go out in the big room." So that's always a good day because we know that our program's working. They're comfortable with us. The always popular Lego Club came back to us last Friday. We had 22 engineers who had to, Bill challenged them to a device that would support a ping pong ball 60 degrees or something, and so it was a challenge. So they had a good time with that. Switch gears a little bit. This is children's stuff, and we like to share that with you. The Friends of the Library and the staff will host the commemoration event for our staff member Mary Lou Shark on Saturday, October 15th at 3 p.m., and we invite you all to attend, town officials and the community as well. We will dedicate the beautiful stained glass pieces and the memorial plaque that Mr. Engberg did for us. The Children's Garden and Playhouse will stay open through the fall. Children and their families still enjoy spending time there. All is well with the library building. The work on the eaves should start the first of next week. Local contractor Roger Roy was awarded the bid, and he will work with us to ensure the safety of our patrons if we have to, as he goes around the building, he'll say, today you can't use the children's room, and tomorrow will be the front door, but we'll work with him. He's worked with us in the past, so we should be all set. And that's all I have. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions?
Sounds like you're doing a wonderful
Yeah.
job.
Well,
Yes,
thank
you
you.
do a
I don't
great
do it
job.
alone. I have a wonderful
Fantastic
staff and the support of the town manager, so thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
You.
Next item.
Next item is audience participation and response for new items.
Go ahead, Dot.
Hold on a minute.
We have a wonderful thing with our library and our librarian, and I always enjoy Diane's presentations. They are always so entertaining. She and the staff do such a wonderful job. An absolute gem. These young kids, beginning at 2 years old, that will instill a love of reading for their entire lives, and there is nothing better than that. Thank you, Diane.
Good job, Diane.
I do. I share with them every day.
Good evening. My name is Kim Printy. I am the Executive Director for Medical Marijuana Caregivers of Maine. We're the state's trade association for caregivers. We provide education and advocacy work and work on the legislation for our rules and regulations in the medical marijuana program. My legislative committee for the organization and myself, we have been working with all of the towns that are addressing the ordinances and the moratoriums and such. So I just wanted to offer our assistance if you are struggling with any decisions or also would like some more information. We've been working with municipalities. I also serve on the planning board in my town of Cornish, and we had a medical marijuana group that have been working for at least 6 months, kind of trying to come to some decisions on what our ordinance looked like, and a lot of other towns are reaching out to us for some guidance with that, so I just wanted to offer our assistance. Understand and appreciate that you guys are tabling that at this time, but in lieu of the adult use coming our way, there's a lot of towns that are being proactive, so if you have questions or need a resource, I'd like you to feel free to reach out to us for assistance, and I'll leave my card.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Again, you heard they're going to revisit this on December 6th, right? So you guys know.
Thank you for coming out.
Yes, absolutely.
Anybody else? Next item.
We have no appointments. Council communications.
Anyone?
That's all you.
Guys want to attend a happening night, you should go to a county commissioner budget meeting. I assure you, the Sun Journal didn't cover half of what actually played out that evening. They did have it correct that the timeline did break up roughly around 1:45 in the morning when it started at 5:30 in the evening. We should have, if they complete their task tomorrow night, at their commissioners meeting, a budget that will be seen by us on the county budget committee the following week on the 26th. Again, those are open to the public. If you'd like to be able to attend, feel free. I assure you I will not be sitting there 7 hours that evening. In the name of full disclosure, when they tried to raid the fund balance and write it all off into capital reserves as their last motion, I lost my cool at 12:15 at night, told them they were fiscally irresponsible, and stormed out of the audience. It was actually the right thing to do because the county budget committee, to enact any change on any line item in that budget that's it's $11.2 million, takes 11 affirmative votes on a committee of 12, that's all but one. It's no way that that would actually have happened, so did the right thing when you do it again, and I assure you I would do it again because we've heard it from our outside auditors year in and year out. The fact is we're underfunded and that type of stuff. When they were actually to the point of burying their heads in the sand on the litigation that's still outstanding, the fund balance issues associated with that, and the heat that they're actually putting our current sheriff under to try to balance a jail budget. It was an interesting conversation to be listening to. Never mind open dialogue with people's salaries in open session. I was totally mortified to see that happen. On our worst night, I can't say that that would actually play out locally in the community. So, anybody wants to attend something? You're more than welcome to see what it's all about. Thank you. I'm sorry, I got one other thing. The store manager for Aubuchon's has got a couple of events coming up locally. The first of which is September 24th. The organization is called Wind Over Wings. It's an outdoor stewardship organization working with Birds of Flight. They'll be there from 11 to noon. And the other event is 10:15 all day. They're working with our local fire department for fire prevention. So anybody that's interested in that, bring your family in, free to taking.
What day is fire prevention? Same day. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got something. This last weekend on Saturday, a local boy who now lives, Darren Baker, who lives over in Durham on the other side of the bridge. He's also the financial officer for the local veterans arm out there, and he and his counterparts over at that Durham AmVets went ahead and put together a memorial ride for Tom Fields, and this was the first annual, and they kicked it off on Saturday. Had a huge turnout, fantastic silent auction. A lot of folks got on board to supply local folks and regional with Pats, the Celtics, the Bruins. Everybody kicked in and threw something for the silent auction. They raised a lot of money, and that money will go towards vets right here local. This is not going to be something that it goes off to some national organization and we only see a small portion of it. These are for vets every day trying to deal with the struggles that they have. So I want to commend Darren and the rest of the folks over on the other side of the bridge for keeping in mind one of our local boys that went and paid the ultimate price.
It was an amazing ride.
I've got something. Now that you said it was a charity ride. I attended last Saturday. I attended, it's It's what they call the Cambridge Cornfield Ride, and it's for ATVs, and it supports the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And you go up in the afternoon, and they feed you very well, and then you ride at night through cornfields where the farmers have actually made paths through it, and through the woods, and then into a huge field. You ride back and forth, and everybody's got lights and stuff on their machines and stuff. But that's just for the ride, for the people. There was 415 ATVs there. Most of them had 2 people on them. They made $17,926 for Make-A-Wish.
That's awesome.
So it's a very good. Actually, it's one of these rides where it's starting to get too big. You get 415 machines trying to follow each other through the woods and the cornfields. It kind of, one mistake can be very, and I don't mean anybody getting hurt, but one mistake, one wrong turn, and it could get really.
Well, I'm sure none of you like to go fast, so I'm sure it was fine.
I would never go fast. My machine won't go over 70 miles an hour.
You try.
That's all I've got.
Anybody else? No? Next item.
Is to adjourn.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
You got so before 8.
Haha.
Pretty impressive.
Yep, you got the record so far.
You see that, Chris?
What's that? No.
Good job, Cassie.
We're gonna kill things that we put on the agenda if that's the case.